head and fantasize about my wake. I would die in fantasy. I would die in memory. I would die in dreaming. I would imagine who would perform to be sad, who wouldn't smile, who would stop listening to music. I would die inside of my head. I would die an infinitely small death. I would fantasize an abandoned city in my absent existence. All that was left of me was a battered suitcase. All that is left is infinity. If you can't have my life, then neither can I. My death is my birth from the other side.
Nothing. I am nothing. I am nothing. I am nothing. Nothing, small, nothing, small, nothing, small, nothing. Hit me like a train wreck, nothing, infinite, nothing, small, infinite, nothing, starlight. I am nothing. I am small and infinite at the same time.
It's over, looking forward to tomorrow. Plans all directions, filled in multiples of wide road. Or on horizon, close your eyes, now just push down. Tell you what we want the love, can't get enough, squeeze until it pops, push it to the job, take nothing less, but the very best, we in pursuit, yeah you know what to do, we want the love, can't get enough. Squeeze until it pop, push it to the drop. Take nothing less but the very best. We in pursuit, yeah, you know what to do. It's exciting, so inviting, bright and gliding. With no love, there's no delight. All the resource, got the top floor, perfect vision. With no love, there is no sight. We want the love, can't get enough. Squeeze until it pop, push it to the job. Take nothing less but the very best. We in pursuit, yeah, you know what to do. We want the love, can't get enough. Squeeze until it pop, push it to the job.
Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. There's no denying this organic, this organic. Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, no. There's no denying this organic love. Back and forth, this or that. Love or games, futures past. Won't know, but don't wanna look back. What's going on? Cause I'm going fast. Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, no. No denying this organic, this organic. Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, no. There's no denying this organic, this organic.
Ritual, the site of the invisible, where we weave the unspoken and unseen. Ritual is the most essential act. Ritual can be as simple as washing your body or touching the earth. Ritual is in the way we become conscious of every detail of a moment, a person, or a prayer. It is the place we begin to reclaim our bodies and our birthrights. We allow each thought, word, and action to be focused on the honoring and caring for every aspect of being and non-being. We speak into the invisible world and weave the threads of our communion with the other wise and other when. The pouring of water into the earth, the offering of smoke, of sound, of spirit, and of voice. Ritual is the loom where we weave each other, where we strengthen our bonds and build the tapestry of our resilience. Reclamation, the site of the making, the place where we build from the ashes. I want my body back, and the bodies of all of my people. Our reclamation must demand the return of our bodies to our own stories, no longer the prop and circumstance of the dominating force. We must return our bodies, the bodies of our ancestors, to themselves. We must liberate the Black body out of its slavery to the master narrative. Reclaim the voice, the skin. Reclaim the image, the gestures, the joys of our Black, Indigenous, and queer bodies. Reclamation is taking back what is ours and making new what has not been. Reclamation is the part of the pattern that carries us forward in time. To reclaim is to take responsibility for and take ownership of our own stories, our own tools, and our own bodies.
Kai kai kai, yemoja olodo. Kai kai kai, ase su olodo. Kai kai kai, yemoja olodo. Kai kai kai, ase su olodo. My name is Tintawi Charaka Kaigziabier, Ancient Moon from God, and the name of this piece is Crossing Over. Crossing over. Omi tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu egum, tutu eshularoye. Departing, stripped earth-colored bodies line the coast. The memory carried in the soles of their feet, a hellish parade, sand and seawater burning, minuscule spaces between metal and flesh. It was the finality the water presented, a tar swallowed, buried in the hollow of their throats, resisting the urge to regurgitate in the shaking, dread-lined vessel. It was the crossing, perpetual rocking, noise of sky god's tears hurled at the ship converging with sea slaps, a lullaby they'd hum to their children, failing to recall its origin. It was the maps formed on scalps that glistened as light pushed through cracks in the deck, hair matted in rows encasing small seeds, they too longing for drink. It was their names shouted out as commands, prayers, in rebellion. Chika, Hanuta, Pulu, Kondiati, Mukuba, Simba, Lati, So, Me, Kwako, Haso, Koche, Kurasa, Flam, We, Yafe. It was there they harnessed what was left of home. Their gardens, work, suckling babies, partners, thrones, languages, aging parents, ritual. It was how they resolved to survive. Arriving in glasses and skinny jeans, him stained with wet sand, stiff head wraps and flowing skirts, flags of resilience as they heard cries of wind whistling, big mommies cleaning songs, chants etched on Egun's tongues, whispered in the big houses and fields, uttered in kitchens hot with pitch and hominy, passed mouth to mouth. Oya, Osunmare, Shango, Yemoja, summoning the mysteries contained in lidded pots protected through time and pain and joy and triumph. It was the birds honking to announce our return over the big water in iron ships that cruised among clouds. It was the homecoming. The anticipation captured in memes and camera apps, awaiting the moment bare souls would melt into sand and seawater, boats linked to docks like Egun stories inscribed on DNA strands. It was the names we carried home. Jabo, Nati, Jasi, Charaka, Darkest, Speedy, Seba, Eric, Noah, Mambwe. And then we brought forth our grandfather's dreams, salt-stained cheekbones, oxygen-filled nostrils, lips that recalled love over land and sea. It's how we chose to thrive, our talismans, guides to their footprints in the shallow of the sea edge. We gather tools and strength, wisdom in cartilage and broken shells. Kai, 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 yemoja olodo. Kai, 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 ase su olodo. Kai, 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 yemoja olodo. Kai, 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 ase su olodo. Kai, 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 yemoja olodo. Kai, 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 ase su olodo. Kai, 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 yemoja olodo. Kai, 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 ase su olodo.
So the science contributions of Black people on the continents of Africa, North America, and Europe are numerous, and many of them date back thousands of years. In the country of Egypt, on the continent of Africa, we find a thriving civilization that existed over 5,000 years ago along the Nile River. Now, the innovation didn't stop once Africans were taken from Africa and brought to other continents. In 1887, Alexander Miles invented the automatic elevator door. You see, before his invention, people had to manually open and close the elevator doors. And Alexander Miles's daughter almost died by falling down an elevator shaft after someone forgot to close the door. So he took it upon himself to figure out a way to keep all riders of any elevator anywhere in the world safe. So now we fast forward into the digital age. Does anybody know what VoIP stands for? It stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. So if you've ever used FaceTime, WhatsApp, or Skype, you have a woman named Marion Croak, who is a software developer and vice president of engineering at Google, to thank for that technology.
Hi, I'm Naima, and I'm here to talk to you all about Black literature. We often, at that point in the turn of the century, saw really negative stereotypes of what it was like to be Black. And these authors, like Langston Hughes, who wrote that the time was allowed for him to courageously and bravely tell the stories of our people without fear or shame. Zora Neale Hurston, who got to travel the country and collect some of those oral histories that I was talking about earlier. And in the 60s and 70s, Black writers and artists said, integration is really important. Being thought of as being equal is really important, but also it's very, very important for us to create spaces where if we don't have a seat at the table, we build our own table. And controlling the narrative and enjoying and spreading Black pride and joy. Thinking about our modern Black literature, where are we going? What do we have to look forward to? One of my favorite writers who writes young adult fiction, her name is Elizabeth Acevedo, and she is an Afro-Latina Dominican writer. It's really exciting to see new Black literature be celebrated and accepted.
Hi, my name is Gregory Waits, and I'm going to be talking about the Black art movement and identity, the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians. Their idea around that was for them to incorporate experimentation, improvisation, and to also look at themselves from a collective point of view. And so in that, they wanted to sort of discard the old hierarchies of jazz. They were primarily jazz musicians. They also wanted to sort of celebrate the Black aesthetic in a sort of a more total theater, approaching and embracing all the arts within the musical context. And this actually, and one of the reasons I'm wearing this costume is that much of this comes from Sun Ra, who had this ability in his music to look forward, look backwards, and sort of be in the now as well.
Welcome to Harlem by Southwest. I'm your host, Hakeem Bellamy. The Harlem section of New York City is only 3 square miles. And at the height of the Harlem Renaissance, nearly 175,000 African Americans lived there. And these Black people, well, they had money, just like other people did. And this was in a time called the Roaring 20s. And that money became its own awakening. An awakening in fashion, writing, painting, music, and identity. And the artists expressing this new Black became household names. Josephine Baker, Paul Robeson, Zora Neale Hurston, Countee Cullen, Aaron Douglas, Augusta Savage, Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, Eubie Black, Cab Calloway, Duke Ellington, Fats Waller, and Billie Holiday. So what's that got to do with New Mexico? Well, Harlem wasn't just a physical place. It was a state of mind. New Mexico had its own piece of Harlem Renaissance in poets Anita Scott Coleman and Jean Toomer. Jean Toomer is famous for his 1923 masterpiece, Cain. Cain was one of the most important books identified with the Harlem Renaissance for its bending of language and its honest representation of black culture. And at that time, Toomer spent time in a literary community that grew up around Mabel, Dodge, Lujan, and Taos. And in 1935, wrote a manuscript that went unpublished until 2016 titled A Drama in the Southwest. This time, he gives us a glimpse into the social world of artists who sought creative and spiritual renewal in Taos, New Mexico. Anita Scott Coleman was a prolific contributor to the Harlem Renaissance, and she lived in Silver City, New Mexico from 1919 until 1925. During that time, she published 13 short stories. Much of Coleman's writing focused on the Southwest. See if you can hear the influence of New Mexico in her work. America Negra. I am Indian, I am grown old, huddled beside sand dunes, cradled in the lap of a plateau, cacti my shade, sky and land, land and sky. The sky is clear as a mirror, but the land is a painted desert.
Peace. My name is Raashan Ahmad. My life as a musician has led me to a pretty consistent life of travel, both nationally and internationally, where I get to be in community with a diverse group of friends from around the globe. This year's shutdown of the world, like many others, left me feeling real isolated. And on top of that, the protests surrounding the murders of black people just had me feeling really alone for so many different reasons. One of them is the city I live in, the city I actually really love. Santa Fe, New Mexico, by the last census count, had a black population of about 1.2%. I can usually get out and see my reflection, but not these days. I also know, though, that we are never as alone as we feel, and even in small numbers, we are here. And so I made an intention to reach out, hear stories, connect, and just see how other black and biracial folks are doing in Santa Fe. That was my plan, but plans don't always go as expected, and I learned a lot about friends I've known for a while and some new friends as well. Listen up, I got a story to tell.
We were talking about how a few weeks ago, it's been months now, but who knows what the days are like, where I got the call from the mayor's office to come talk to them about being black in Santa Fe. I remember I called you after that. And we talked about some of my terrible experiences in this town that I felt were mostly for being black. And she, she's horrified and telling her that we had slave day at prep and people now like to act all like, what? In Santa Fe? No way. School they have that?
Slave Day?
Slave Day. That's what it was called.
What is Slave Day?
Slave Day is when decide that the best way to raise money for the seniors to have a senior trip to San Francisco every year is to have an auction where all of the seniors are sold to younger underclassmen. They're put on the stage and they have to do a thing. Not necessarily a thing like a performance. They, it was a slave auction block.
And they called it Slave Day.
It was called Slave Day, and people got super stoked about it ahead of time. And the underclassmen started deciding who they were going to buy and what they were going to do to them once they bought them. And then they would do things like the senior would have to be their slave.
Like, how are you interacting with this?
So I got home, and my mom was like, "How was school today?" And I was like, "I don't know." I don't know how I feel. My mom said, wait, what?
Right.
And we kind of had a thing. And then usually in my household, what would happen is, are we sending the white guy in to take care of this?
Yep.
Am I going in to take care of this? And then we have a family meeting. And then we kind of decided it was going to be my job to take care of it.
Wow.
With their backup. So I went back to school and I told them that it was disgusting and that it was offensive, and if they didn't feel like it was something that they needed to change, that the following year I was going to call the press, that I expected them to do a week before Slave Day of education, explaining what a slave block actually looked like and what it meant in context as opposed to out of context.
And how did they receive this?
They were mostly quiet. They didn't know what to say to me. We understand. I don't think that that's the intention behind the thing. Right. It's our major fundraising event for the seniors. Right. And I just, I told them, I'm telling, basically. I'm a tell. Do what you got to do, but I'm a tell. And so they just silently just canceled it.
Some people are getting called certain names and people are having certain experience, and I've had certain experience. I've had people touch my hair randomly. I've had people come up to me after Trump won. I had a white man get in my face in the store and blame it on black people, you know.
Sometimes I felt like I'm like an animal at a petting zoo or something. Like it's just like ridiculous. Like people trying to take pictures of you in the grocery store. You're like, I'm grocery shopping.
Right. And why do they say that they're doing that?
They just say they're sorry. But yeah, I mean, my hair has always been commented upon. People even, I like, oh, your skin is so pretty and stuff like that, which is a compliment, right? It's a compliment, but it's the way they say it that makes you feel like rather than a compliment, it's a, I don't know, like trying to relate or something. I'm not sure if they're just trying to, oh, I have a cousin that, you know, and then you're like, okay, well, I got a bunch of white people in my family, but you don't see me talking about that to try to relate to you, you know? Like, why are you trying to relate to me through my color of my skin or the type of hair I have? Or
because we did not growing up to hear the racism, you know? And we didn't even know. For me, I didn't know the racism until I got here.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But again, I mean, the truth is here. You know what I mean? We can't hide it. You know? And over there, mostly what we'll see is like a tribalism. Remember the part of Bob Marley say to free. What is the song?
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yeah.
None but ourselves can free our minds.
Let's get that part mentally slavery. You know what I mean? Yeah. For the other part, you know, let's keep away, right? Let's work on this one, mentally slavery. I mean, because it is, the way you're saying, is mentally, but physically, you can do. If you separate yourself, you know what I mean? Separate myself from the mentally, because this mind, man, is a crazy thing, you know? If you follow it, you're not going to do anything. But you have to free yourself from those fears. Because there is a lot of fear you put it on, you know, because the fear, for example, if you want to start a business, what they do, they say, oh, give us your business plan, you know. That is a lot. I don't know that, you know. I mean, I know I want to do a business, you know. If I have to do a business plan for Jumbo, I will never really get started.
Why?
Because it's scary. I mean, you have to have $100 in your account. You have a 6 month, you know, all this. But if you know you want to try and you have a little bit and you see people already doing it. What do you mean business plan you have? You have a McDonald's, they're successful, you know? Do you know what I mean? I mean, where you want to go to, you know, go there and see how many people are driving this, how many burgers they buy. You can just stay outside there and see, you know what I mean? Seriously, you know?
But then there's the question, how do you trust again, right? How do you trust? The only way to trust is to trust. That's the only way. That's what Hemingway says. He says the only way to trust is to trust. So how do you trust? You give people the trust, and then you allow them, and you allow life to happen.
You gotta be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You okay? You okay being vulnerable?
I'm okay with being vulnerable. Vulnerability actually isn't about getting hurt. Vulnerability is very powerful. Vulnerability is strength. Vulnerability is courageous.
Ain't got no home, can't shake the blues. Ain't got no money, ain't got no use. Ain't got no work, ain't got no cheddar. Got no umbrella for stormy weather. Ain't got no schooling, ain't got no coaching, ain't got no ticket. I ain't got no mother, ain't got no love, ain't got no name, ain't got no friends, ain't that a shame? But what I got, what I got, my God, got my head, got my brains, got my ears, got my eyes,
got my nose, got my mouth, talk that talk. I got my smile, got my tongue, got my chin, got my neck. I got my soul, got my heart, got my back, got myself. How about that? Life, hey, I got life. Life, I got life. Hey, life, I got